I opened my eyes to the sound of his voice, but I didn't move. As soon as she dies, the child will go up for adoption and the money will be ours. The words hung in the sterile hospital air like poison. My fiancé, stood just outside my room, his voice low and casual, as if he were discussing dinner plans. I could see his shadow through the half-open door, his hand resting on someone's waist. A woman's soft laugh followed. "Are you sure she won't wake up?" Her voice was unfamiliar, honeyed, eager. "The doctor said it's unlikely. And if she does, she'll be a vegetable. Either way, the life insurance policy kicks in, and the house is in both our names. We just have to wait." My heart slammed against my ribs, but I forced my body to stay still. Every muscle screamed to move, to sit up, to scream at him, but I didn't. I kept my eyes half closed, my breathing shallow and steady. I'd been in a coma for 6 days after the car accident. 6 days where I'd floated in darkness, hearing fragments of sound, feeling the weight of my son's absence like a phantom limb. My son. Our son. He was 2 years old. His name was Oliver. And the man I'd trusted with everything, the man I was supposed to marry in 3 months, had just told his lover that he planned to give our baby away. The woman giggled again. "God, I can't wait to get out of this city. Miami, right? You promised." "Miami," he confirmed. "New life. New everything." They walked away, their footsteps fading down the hall, and I finally let myself breathe. My hands were shaking under the thin hospital blanket. I turned my head slowly, carefully, and stared at the IV drip in my arm, the monitors beeping softly beside me, the pale green walls that had become my prison. I didn't cry. I didn't have time for that. I had to disappear. My name is Emma Callahan. I'm 32 years old. 6 months ago, I was a senior project manager at a tech consulting firm in Seattle, living in a craftsman house in Wallingford with the man I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. I had a career I was proud of, a son I adored, and a future that looked solid and bright. Then came the accident. I'd been driving home from a client meeting in Bellevue when a truck ran a red light and T-boned my car. I remember the sound of metal crumpling, the airbag exploding into my face, and then nothing. When I woke up 6 days later, the world had shifted on its axis. But let me back up. I met Daniel 3 years ago at a fundraiser for a local nonprofit. He was charming, confident, the kind of man who could work a room and make you feel like you were the only person in it. He was a financial advisor, well-dressed, well-spoken, with an easy smile and a way of making everything seem manageable. I'd been single for a year after a bad breakup, and Daniel felt like a fresh start. He pursued me with intensity. Flowers at my office, surprise weekend trips to the San Juans, long dinners where he listened, or seemed to listen, to every word I said. When I got pregnant a year into our relationship, I was terrified. But Daniel proposed immediately, held my hand through every ultrasound, painted the nursery himself. "We're a team," he used to say. "You and me and this little guy, nothing's going to change that." I believed him. Oliver was born on a rainy October morning, and for a while, life felt perfect. Daniel doted on him, at least in public. But privately, cracks started to show. He'd snap at me over small things. Dishes in the sink, a missed text, the baby crying at night. He started working late, coming home smelling like expensive perfume that wasn't mine. When I asked about it, he'd get defensive. "You're paranoid, Em. I'm building a future for us. Can't you trust me?" So I swallowed my doubts. I told myself I was overreacting, that new parenthood was hard on everyone, that I just needed to be more patient. Then came the accident. And now, lying in this hospital bed, I realized the truth. Daniel had been waiting for me to die. The first thing I did was call the nurse. I kept my voice weak, confused. Exactly what you'd expect from someone emerging from a coma. She rushed in, checked my vitals, paged the doctor. Within an hour, I was surrounded by medical staff, all of them amazed at my miraculous recovery. Daniel showed up an hour later. He walked into the room with a bouquet of tulips, my favorite, or so he thought. I actually hated tulips, and his face was a perfect mask of relief and concern. He kissed my forehead, held my hand, asked the doctors a dozen questions in a voice that trembled just enough to sound genuine. "Thank God," he whispered, pressing his lips to my knuckles. "I thought I'd lost you." I looked at him and felt nothing. No love, no anger, just a cold, clarifying emptiness. "Where's Oliver?" I asked. "He's with my mom. I didn't want to bring him to the hospital. Too scary for a toddler, you know. But he's fine. He misses you." "I want to see him." "Of course. As soon as the doctors clear you, we'll bring him by." He smiled, squeezed my hand, and I smiled back. It was the performance of my life. Over the next 2 days, I played the role of the grateful, recovering fiancé. I let Daniel feed me applesauce, adjust my pillows, talk to the doctors about my progress. I asked him small, harmless questions about work, about the house, about Oliver's daycare. He answered easily, confidently, like a man who had nothing to hide. But I was gathering information. I asked for my phone. He hesitated for a fraction of a second, just long enough for me to notice, before handing it over. "Battery's dead," he said. "I'll grab your charger from the car." While he was gone, I asked the nurse if I could borrow her phone to call my mom. She handed it over without question. I didn't call my mom. I called my best friend, Lauren. She picked up on the first ring. "Emma? Oh my God, is that you?" "Lauren, listen to me. I don't have much time. I need you to do exactly what I say." "What's going on? Daniel said you were still unconscious." "Daniel's lying. I woke up 2 days ago. I heard him talking to another woman. He's planning to let me die, give Oliver up for adoption, and take everything I own. I need to get out of here, and I need your help." There was a long silence. Then, "Tell me what to do." Lauren was a paralegal at a mid-sized firm downtown. She was sharp, resourceful, and fiercely loyal. Within 6 hours, she'd done the following. 1. Contacted a family law attorney who owed her a favor. 2. Pulled copies of my financial records, including the joint accounts Daniel and I shared. 3. Arranged for a social worker to do a welfare check on Oliver. 4. Booked me a short-term rental under her name in a neighborhood across town. She also brought me a burner phone, a prepaid credit card, and a change of clothes. "You're sure about this?" she asked, sitting on the edge of my hospital bed. "Once you leave, there's no going back." "I'm sure." "What about Oliver?" "That's the first thing I'm getting. The doctors wanted to keep me for observation, but I signed myself out against medical advice. Daniel was at work, or wherever he actually went during the day, so I had a narrow window. Lauren drove me straight to Daniel's mother's house in Shoreline, a tidy rambler with a fenced yard and a swing set in the back. Margaret answered the door with Oliver on her hip. His face lit up when he saw me. "Mama!" I took him from her arms and held him so tight I thought I might break. He smelled like baby shampoo and graham crackers, and his little hands patted my cheeks like he was making sure I was real. "Emma," Margaret said, her voice uncertain. "Daniel said you were still in the hospital." I checked myself out. "I'm fine. I'm taking Oliver home." "Does Daniel know?" "He will." She looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something flicker in her eyes. Doubt, maybe, or suspicion. Margaret had never liked me, but she wasn't stupid. She'd seen the way her son had changed over the past year. "Take care of him," she said quietly. I nodded. "I will." Lauren had packed a go bag for me. Diapers, clothes, Oliver's favorite stuffed elephant, a folder of documents I'd need. We drove to the rental, a small furnished apartment in the University District. the kind of place where no one asked questions, and I locked the door behind us. Oliver was confused, clingy, asking for data every few minutes. I held him, rocked him, sang the songs he liked until he finally fell asleep in my arms. Then I sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. Daniel had access to everything: our joint bank account, my retirement fund, the title to the house. I'd been so trusting, so stupidly trusting, and now I had to undo it all. I started with the bank account. I transferred half the balance, my half, into a new account I'd opened under my name only. Then I called the mortgage company and put a freeze on any changes to the house title. I contacted my HR department and changed the beneficiary on my life insurance policy from Daniel to Oliver. By midnight, I'd dismantled every financial tie that bound me to him. And then I did something I'd been putting off. I opened my email and searched for Daniel's name. There were dozens of messages, but one subject line caught my eye. Miami property listing. I clicked it. The email was from a real estate agent in Miami, confirming a viewing appointment for a beachfront condo. The date was 3 weeks away. The buyers' names, Daniel Hayworth and Vanessa Liu. Vanessa. I Googled her. She was a real estate agent in Seattle, divorced, no kids, with an Instagram full of yacht parties and designer handbags. She and Daniel had been commenting on each other's posts for months. Flirty, familiar, the kind of thing you'd overlook if you weren't looking for it. I screenshotted everything. The next morning, Daniel started calling. I didn't answer. He left voicemails, frantic at first, then angry, then coldly controlled. "Emma, where are you? My mom said you took Oliver. You can't just disappear like this. Call me back. Now." I deleted each one without listening all the way through. Instead, I met with the attorney Lauren had found. Her name was Diane Rousseau, a woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and a reputation for not losing. I showed her everything. The emails, the financial records, the life insurance policy, the text between Daniel and Vanessa that I'd recovered from the cloud backup of his phone. "He planned to let me die," I said. "And then he was going to give my son away and run off with his mistress." Diane didn't flinch. "We're filing for emergency custody today, and I'm recommending a restraining order. Will it hold?" "It will if you're willing to fight." I looked at Oliver, who was playing with blocks on the floor of her office, oblivious to the storm gathering around him. "I'll fight," I said. That afternoon, I sent Daniel a single text from my burner phone. "I know everything. Don't contact me. My attorney will be in touch." His response came 30 seconds later. "You're making a huge mistake. I love you. We can fix this." I blocked the number. By the end of the week, I'd done the following. 1. Filed for emergency custody of Oliver, citing abandonment and emotional harm. 2. Secured a restraining order against Daniel, effective immediately. 3. Put the house on the market. 4. Started the process of liquidating my share of our joint assets. It felt like tearing down a building brick by brick, but with every piece I removed, I felt lighter. Daniel tried to fight back. He showed up at the rental, pounding on the door, shouting that I was being irrational, that I was keeping his son from him. I called the police. They escorted him away and warned him that violating the restraining order would result in arrest. He hired his own attorney, a slick guy in a $1,000 suit who tried to paint me as unstable, a woman who'd fled the hospital against medical advice and was alienating Daniel from his child. But Diane was better. She presented the emails, the text messages, the financial records showing Daniel's plans to drain my accounts. She brought in a witness, a nurse from the hospital who'd overheard Daniel and Vanessa talking outside my room. She played a voicemail he'd left for Vanessa 2 days after my accident, where he'd laughed and said, "If she doesn't wake up, we're set for life." The judge granted me full temporary custody. The house sold faster than I expected. I took my half of the proceeds, paid off my car, and put the rest into a trust for Oliver. I quit my job, There was no way I could stay in Seattle, not with Daniel's family and friends everywhere, not with the constant risk of running into him at a coffee shop or a grocery store. I needed to start over. Completely. Lauren helped me research options. We looked at cities across the country, Austin, Portland, Denver, but nothing felt right. Too close, too familiar. And then I thought, why stay in the country at all? I had a friend from college, Sophia, who'd moved to Vancouver 5 years ago. She was a nurse, happily married, living in a quiet neighborhood near the water. I called her. "Emma, oh my God, I heard about the accident. Are you okay? I'm alive, and I need to leave. Can I stay with you for a while? Just until I figure things out?" "Of course. How soon can you get here?" 2 weeks. I spent those 2 weeks tying up every loose end. I closed my bank accounts, forwarded my mail to a P.O. box, said goodbye to Lauren and the few other people I trusted. I didn't tell anyone else where I was going. Not my parents. Not my co-workers. Not even my lawyer. The less people knew, the safer Oliver and I would be. On my last night in Seattle, I sat in the empty rental apartment with Oliver asleep in my lap. The room was bare except for our suitcases, stacked by the door like a promise. I thought about Daniel, about the man I'd loved, or thought I'd loved, and the man he'd turned out to be. I thought about the life I'd built and the life I was about to create. And I realized something. I wasn't running away. I was running toward something. Toward safety. Toward freedom. Toward a future where my son and I could breathe without looking over our shoulders. I kissed the top of Oliver's head and whispered, "We're going to be okay." The next morning, we were gone. The border crossing into Canada felt like stepping through a portal into a different life. Oliver was strapped into his car seat in the back of the rental SUV, clutching his stuffed elephant and humming a song from his favorite cartoon. The customs officer, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, glanced at our passports, asked the standard questions about the purpose of our visit, and waved us through. "Welcome to Canada," she said with a smile. I gripped the steering wheel and drove north on Highway 99, watching Seattle disappear in the rearview mirror. The sky was overcast, typical for March in the Pacific Northwest, but as we crossed the Fraser River and entered Vancouver proper, I felt something shift in my chest. It wasn't quite relief. I was too numb for that. But it was close. Sophia lived in Kitsilano, a tree-lined neighborhood on the west side of the city, near the beach. Her house was a narrow Victorian with blue trim and a garden full of early spring flowers. She met us at the door with open arms. "Emma, God, look at you!" I hadn't seen myself clearly in days, not really, but I knew what she was seeing. A woman who'd lost 15 pounds she couldn't afford to lose, with dark circles under her eyes and hair that hadn't been properly washed in a week. But Sophia didn't flinch. She just pulled me into a hug and held on. "You're safe now," she whispered. "Both of you." Sophia and her husband, Marcus, set us up in their guest room, a sunny space with a queen bed, a crib they'd borrowed from a neighbor, and a window overlooking the garden. Oliver adapted immediately, toddling around the house like he owned the place, charming Marcus with his babbling and making Sophia laugh when he tried to help her cook dinner. I, on the other hand, couldn't settle. Every sound made me jump. Every car that slowed on the street outside sent my heart racing. I checked my phone obsessively, half expecting to see Daniel's name flash across the screen, even though I'd blocked him on every platform and changed my number twice. "He doesn't know where you are," Sophia reminded me one night as we sat on her back porch, mugs of tea cooling in our hands. "You covered your tracks. You're safe." "I know," I said, but knowing and feeling were two different things. The truth was, I didn't feel safe. I felt like a woman on the run, looking over her shoulder, waiting for the other shoe to drop. The first week in Vancouver was a blur of logistics. I met with an immigration consultant to explore my options for staying long-term. Canada had a points-based system for skilled workers. And with my degree in business management and years of experience in tech consulting, I was a strong candidate, but the process would take months, maybe longer. You can apply for a work permit in the meantime, the consultant explained. As long as you have a job offer from a Canadian employer, you can stay legally while your permanent residency application is processed. And if I don't get a job offer? She gave me a sympathetic look. Then you'll need to return to the US and reapply from there. Going back wasn't an option, not with Daniel still circling like a shark. So I started applying for jobs, project manager positions, consulting roles, anything that matched my skill set. I updated my LinkedIn profile, rewrote my resume to fit the Canadian market, and sent out applications to every tech company in Vancouver. Most didn't respond. A few sent polite rejections. One invited me to interview. The interview was with a mid-sized software development firm in Yaletown, a trendy downtown neighborhood full of glass high-rises and converted warehouses. The hiring manager, a woman named Claire Park, was sharp and no-nonsense, the kind of person who didn't waste time on small talk. "You've got an impressive resume," she said, scanning my application. "But you're American. Why Vancouver?" I'd prepared for this question, but the answer still caught in my throat. I couldn't tell her the truth, not all of it, so I gave her the sanitized version. I needed a fresh start. I have a 2-year-old son, and I wanted to raise him somewhere safer, with better opportunities. Vancouver felt like the right fit. Claire studied me for a moment, and I had the uncomfortable feeling that she could see straight through me. "Fair enough," she said finally. "We're looking for someone who can hit the ground running. Our last PM left suddenly, and we've got 3 active projects that need oversight. Can you handle that?" "Yes. You'll be working with remote teams, managing budgets, dealing with difficult clients. It's not glamorous." "I didn't come here for glamorous." She smiled at that. "Good. When can you start?" I started the following Monday. The work was intense, exactly as Claire had warned, but I was grateful for it. It gave me structure, a reason to get out of bed in the morning, a way to silence the noise in my head. I threw myself into the projects, staying late in the office, taking calls at odd hours to accommodate time zones, proving to Claire, and to myself, that I could still do this. Oliver, meanwhile, started daycare. Sophia had recommended a small cooperative program a few blocks from her house, run by a collective of parents who rotated teaching duties. It was warm and chaotic and full of laughter, and Oliver loved it immediately. Dropping him off the first day was harder than I'd expected. He clung to my leg, his little face crumpling, and I had to pry his fingers loose and hand him to one of the teachers, a cheerful woman named Amira who promised me he'd be fine in 5 minutes. "They always are," she said kindly. She was right. By the time I came back to pick him up that afternoon, Oliver was covered in paint and singing a song about ducks. He barely noticed me. "Mama, look!" He held up a piece of construction paper with a blob of blue paint in the middle. "I made an ocean!" I knelt down and hugged him. "It's beautiful, buddy." Life in Vancouver started to take shape. I found a small apartment in Mount Pleasant, a neighborhood just east of downtown, with affordable rent and a park nearby. It was a 1-bedroom, so Oliver and I shared the space. His crib in the corner, my bed against the opposite wall, our lives compressed into 600 square feet. But it was ours. I bought secondhand furniture from Craigslist, hung curtains, filled the fridge with groceries. I walked Oliver to daycare in the mornings, took the bus to work, picked him up in the evenings. We had dinner together every night, mac and cheese, chicken nuggets, scrambled eggs, whatever he'd actually eat. Then bath time, story time, bedtime. It was simple. It was exhausting. It was everything I'd needed. But Daniel didn't stay quiet. 6 weeks after I left Seattle, Diane called me. I was at work, in the middle of a budget review meeting, and I stepped out into the hallway to take the call. "Emma, we have a problem." My stomach dropped. What kind of problem? Daniel filed a motion for joint custody. He's claiming you kidnapped Oliver and fled the country without his consent. That's insane. I have full temporary custody. The judge granted it. I know, but he's arguing that the order was based on false pretenses, that you manipulated the evidence, that the nurse's testimony was unreliable, that he's a fit parent who deserves access to his son. I leaned against the wall, trying to breathe. Can he do that? He can try, and he's got a good attorney. They're pushing for a hearing in 2 weeks. I'm in Canada, Diane. I can't just fly back for a hearing. You don't have to. I can represent you remotely, but Emma... She paused. If he wins this motion, if the judge orders you to return Oliver to Washington, you'll be in violation of a court order. That's a felony. He's not getting Oliver. I know, but you need to be prepared for a fight. The hearing was scheduled for a Friday morning, Seattle time. I took the day off work and sat in my apartment with my laptop open, watching the proceedings via video call. Diane was in the courtroom, dressed in a gray suit, her expression calm and controlled. Daniel sat at the opposite table with his attorney, looking every bit the concerned father. Clean-shaven, wearing a navy blazer, his hands folded on the table in front of him. I wanted to reach through the screen and strangle him. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Martinez, listened as Daniel's attorney laid out his case. He painted a picture of a devoted father who'd been blindsided by a traumatized, irrational woman. He showed photos of Daniel with Oliver, birthday parties, trips to the zoo, bedtime stories. He called Daniel to the stand, and Daniel played his part perfectly. Humble, remorseful, claiming he'd made mistakes but insisting he loved his son. I never wanted any of this, Daniel said, his voice breaking just enough to sound genuine. I just want my son back. I want to be a father to him. Then Diane stood up. Mr. Hayworth, you testified that you love your son. Is that correct? Yes. And you claim that Ms. Callahan has denied you access to him. Is that also correct? Yes. Interesting, because according to phone records, you didn't attempt to contact Ms. Callahan or inquire about Oliver's well-being for 3 full weeks after she left Seattle. Why is that? Daniel hesitated. I was giving her space. I thought she needed time to calm down. Or, Diane said smoothly, you didn't care where she was because you were too busy planning your new life in Miami with Ms. Vanessa Liu. Isn't that true? His attorney objected. The judge overruled. Mr. Hayworth, answer the question. I don't know what you're talking about. Diane pulled out a printed email. This is a confirmation for a beachfront condo viewing in Miami, dated 2 weeks after Ms. Callahan's accident. The buyers listed are you and Ms. Liu. Would you like to explain that? Daniel's face went pale. Diane didn't stop. She entered into evidence the texts between Daniel and Vanessa, the voicemail where he joked about the life insurance payout, the hospital nurse's testimony. She showed the judge that Daniel had made no effort to visit Oliver, no effort to contribute financially, no effort to act like a parent. By the time she was finished, Daniel looked like a man whose world was collapsing. Judge Martinez took less than 10 minutes to deliberate. Mr. Hayworth, I find your testimony unconvincing and your behavior reprehensible. Ms. Callahan's custody arrangement will remain in place. Furthermore, I am granting her permission to relocate permanently to Canada with the child, effective immediately. You will have supervised visitation rights, should you choose to exercise them, but only within the jurisdiction of King County, Washington. Supervised visitation in Washington, which meant Daniel would have to fly to Seattle, coordinate with a court-appointed supervisor, and spend a few hours with Oliver in a sterile office, assuming he bothered to show up at all. He didn't look like he would. When the call ended, I sat in silence for a long moment, staring at the blank screen. I'd won. I'd actually won. And yet, I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow. like I'd survived something that should have killed me. But the cost of survival was still too high to calculate. I called Sophia. She picked up on the first ring. "How'd it go?" "We won. I can stay." She let out a whoop loud enough that I had to pull the phone away from my ear. "Emma, that's amazing. We're celebrating tonight. I'm making my mom's lasagna and Marcus is bringing wine." I smiled despite myself. Sounds good. But that night, lying in bed with Oliver curled up beside me, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the hearing in my mind. Daniel's face when Diane presented the evidence, the judge's cold dismissal of his claims, the finality of the ruling. It should have felt like justice. Instead, it felt like the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, equally uncertain. Because the truth was, I didn't know how to do this. I didn't know how to be a single mother in a foreign country, building a life from scratch, raising a child who would one day ask questions I didn't know how to answer. Where's Daddy? Why did we leave? Why doesn't he visit? I didn't have good answers yet, but I would figure it out. I had to. Spring turned into summer. The city came alive with festivals and farmers markets, street performers and late sunsets. Oliver and I spent our weekends exploring Stanley Park, Granville Island, the beach at English Bay. He loved the water, the way it lapped at his toes, the way the seagulls swooped and cried overhead. One Sunday in late June, we went to Kitsilano Beach with Sophia and Marcus. Oliver built sandcastles while I sat on a blanket, watching him, feeling the sun on my face. "You look better," Sophia said, handing me a cold drink. "Better than what?" "Better than when you showed up on my doorstep 3 months ago, looking like a ghost." I laughed softly. "Yeah, well, I wasn't in great shape." "You're a fighter, Em. You always have been." "I don't feel like a fighter. I feel like someone who's just surviving." "Same thing," she said. But surviving wasn't enough. I wanted to live. So I started small. I joined a local yoga studio, forcing myself to attend classes twice a week. I made friends with some of the other moms at Oliver's daycare, trading parenting tips and coffee dates. I explored the city, bookstores and cafes, hiking trails and hidden neighborhoods. I even went on a date. His name was Ethan, a software engineer I'd met at work. He was quiet, thoughtful, with dark eyes and an easy smile. He asked me out for coffee, and I said yes before I could overthink it. We met at a cafe in Gastown, all exposed brick and Edison bulbs, and talked for 2 hours. He told me about his work, his family in Toronto, his love of rock climbing. I told him about my job, my son, my life in Vancouver. But I didn't tell him about Daniel. I wasn't ready for that conversation yet. At the end of the date, he walked me to my bus stop and asked if he could see me again. "I'd like that," I said. And I meant it. But that night, lying in bed, I felt a pang of guilt. Not because of Ethan. He was kind, and I'd enjoyed his company, but because I realized I was moving on. I was building a new life, creating new memories, letting go of the past. And part of me felt like I was betraying the woman I used to be. The woman who'd believed in Daniel, who'd planned a wedding, who'd thought she was building forever. That woman was gone. I'd had to kill her to survive, and I was still mourning her. One night in July, Oliver woke up screaming. I ran to his crib, scooped him up, held him against my chest. "It's okay, baby. Mama's here." "Dada," he sobbed. "Want Dada." My heart broke. He was asking for Daniel. Of course he was. He was 2 years old, and his father had vanished from his life without explanation. "Dada's not here," I whispered. "But I am. I'm always here." He cried for another 20 minutes before exhausting himself and falling asleep in my arms. I sat on the floor, rocking him, tears streaming down my face. How was I supposed to explain this to him? How was I supposed to tell him that his father had chosen money and a mistress over him? That his father had planned to give him away like an unwanted piece of furniture? I couldn't. Not yet. So I just held him and whispered promises I hoped I could keep. You're safe. You're loved. And I will never leave you. In August, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Emma Callahan? Yes? This is Detective Sarah Brennan with the Seattle Police Department. I'm calling regarding Daniel Hayworth. My blood went cold. What about him? We've received multiple reports of harassment and financial fraud connected to Mr. Hayworth. We're building a case and we'd like to speak with you. Are you available for an interview? I sat down hard on the couch. Harassment? From who? From several women, actually. It appears Mr. Hayworth has a pattern of targeting single mothers and women with assets. You're not the first, Ms. Callahan, and based on what we've found, you won't be the last unless we stop him. The interview took place via video call 2 days later. Detective Brennan was professional, thorough, and relentless. She asked me to walk through everything: meeting Daniel, the pregnancy, the engagement, the accident, the conversation I'd overheard in the hospital. Did he ever physically harm you? No. Did he control your finances? Not directly. But we had joint accounts and he always influenced my decisions. He made me feel like I couldn't manage money without him. Classic manipulation, she said, making notes. Did he isolate you from friends or family? I thought about it. Sort of. He didn't forbid me from seeing people. But he'd get upset if I made plans without him. He'd guilt-trip me, make me feel like I was choosing them over him. Eventually, I just stopped trying. And the life insurance policy? When did he take that out? A year after Oliver was born. He said it was smart planning, that we needed to protect our family. I didn't think anything of it. Detective Brennan nodded. Ms. Callahan, I want to be straight with you. What Daniel did to you was calculated and deliberate. He's a predator. And based on what we're seeing, he's done this before. We have testimony from at least 3 other women with similar stories. My stomach turned. 3? At least. Maybe more. Over the next few weeks, I became part of the investigation. I handed over every email, every text, every financial record I had. I gave a formal statement. I signed affidavits. And slowly, the full picture emerged. Daniel had been running a long con. He targeted women who were vulnerable: single mothers, recent divorcees, women with savings or assets. He'd romance them, move in with them, gain access to their finances, and then systematically drain them dry. If they caught on, he'd disappear. If they didn't, he'd stick around until he found a bigger target. I wasn't his first victim. I was just the one who'd gotten away. We're filing charges, Detective Brennan told me in late September. Wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit insurance fraud. If convicted, he's looking at 10 to 15 years. Will it stick? With your testimony and the evidence we've gathered, yeah, it'll stick. The trial was scheduled for the following spring. I wouldn't have to appear in person. My testimony would be submitted via deposition, but knowing that Daniel would finally face consequences felt like a weight lifting off my chest. He'd stolen from me. He'd lied to me. He'd planned to erase me and Oliver from his life like we were nothing. But he hadn't won. I had. By the time October rolled around, I'd been in Vancouver for 7 months. Oliver was thriving, talking in full sentences, making friends at daycare, growing taller every day. I'd settled into my job, gotten a small raise, started contributing to a retirement account again. And I'd started seeing Ethan regularly. Nothing serious, just dinners, walks, the occasional movie. He met Oliver once, briefly, and handled it with surprising grace. He's great, Ethan said afterward. Looks just like you. He does, doesn't he? We were sitting on a bench in Queen Elizabeth Park, watching the sunset over the city. Ethan reached over and took my hand. Emma, I know you've been through a lot, and I'm not trying to rush you into anything, but I like you. A lot. And I'd like to see where this goes. I looked at him, at his kind eyes, his steady presence, and realized I liked him too. I'd like that, I said. That night, I put Oliver to bed and stood by the window, looking out at the Vancouver skyline. The city lights glittered like stars, and somewhere in the distance, I could hear the faint sound of a train whistle. I thought about everything I'd lost, my home, my job, my sense of safety. I thought about everything I'd gained, my freedom, my strength, my son's future. And I realized something. I wasn't the woman I used to be. That woman had been trusting, naive, willing to overlook red flags because she wanted to believe in love. This woman, the one standing in this apartment, in this city, in this life, was harder, smarter, stronger. This woman had walked through fire and come out the other side, and she wasn't done yet. I picked up my phone and opened my notes app. I started typing. Things I know now. 1. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. 2. You don't owe anyone your loyalty if they've betrayed yours. 3. Starting over isn't failure, it's survival. 4. You are stronger than you think. 5. Your child is watching. Teach them to be brave. I saved the note and put my phone down. Tomorrow, I'd wake up and do it all again. Drop Oliver at daycare, go to work, come home, make dinner. The routine was mundane, unglamorous, exhausting. But it was mine. And that was enough. The phone call came on a Tuesday morning in late November, just as I was getting Oliver ready for daycare. Emma Callahan? Speaking. This is Linda Chen from the King County Prosecutor's Office. I'm calling to inform you that Daniel Hayworth has accepted a plea deal. I stopped buttoning Oliver's jacket. A plea deal? Yes. In exchange for pleading guilty to wire fraud and conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, he'll serve 8 years with the possibility of parole after 5. The trial has been canceled. 8 years, 5 with good behavior. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like he was getting off easy. What about the other charges? I asked. Those were dropped as part of the agreement. I know it's not what you wanted, but Ms. Callahan, this ensures he goes to prison. If we'd gone to trial, there was always the chance a jury might not convict. This way, it's guaranteed. When does he start serving? He was remanded into custody yesterday. He's already in the system. I sat down hard on the edge of my bed. Okay, thank you for letting me know. There's one more thing. As part of his sentencing, he's been ordered to pay restitution, $50,000 to you, and additional amounts to the other victims. It'll be garnished from any wages he earns while incarcerated and after his release. $50,000? It wouldn't undo what he'd done, but it was something. Thank you, I said again. After I hung up, I sat there for a long moment, staring at the wall. Oliver tugged on my sleeve. Mama? We go now? Yeah, buddy. We go now. I didn't tell anyone about the plea deal right away. Not Sophia, not Ethan, not even Diane. I needed time to process it, to sit with the knowledge that Daniel was finally behind bars, that he couldn't hurt me or Oliver anymore. But that night, lying in bed, I felt something unexpected. Not relief, but a strange, hollow sadness. For years, I'd built my life around Daniel. I'd loved him, trusted him, planned a future with him. And even after everything, the betrayal, the manipulation, the cruelty, part of me had held on to the memory of who I'd thought he was. Now that person was gone, officially, legally, permanently gone. And I had to let go. The weeks leading up to Christmas were busy. Work ramped up as we pushed to close projects before the holiday break. Oliver's daycare organized a winter festival, complete with caroling and hot chocolate, and a visit from Santa. one of the dads in a rented costume. I baked cookies with Sophia, strung lights around our little apartment, bought Oliver more presents than I could afford because I wanted his first real Christmas with just the two of us to be special. On Christmas Eve, Sophia and Marcus invited us over for dinner. Their house was warm and glowing, filled with the smell of roasted turkey and cinnamon. Oliver played with their dog, a golden retriever named Bailey, while I helped Sophia in the kitchen. "You seem different," she said, chopping vegetables. "Lighter, somehow." "Do I?" "Yeah, like you've finally stopped waiting for the other shoe to drop." I thought about it. She was right. For months, I'd been living in a constant state of vigilance, always looking over my shoulder, always expecting Daniel to show up or call or find some new way to hurt me. But he couldn't anymore. He was locked up, 3,000 miles away, and I was here, safe, free, building a life he could never touch. "I think I'm starting to believe I'm going to be okay," I said. Sophia smiled. "You are. You already are." That night, after Oliver fell asleep on the couch, Marcus poured me a glass of wine and raised his own in a toast. "To new beginnings?" he said. "To new beginnings," I echoed. We clinked glasses, and I felt something unfamiliar bloom in my chest. Hope. Ethan and I had been seeing each other for 4 months, and things were good. Easy. He didn't push, didn't demand, didn't try to rush me into anything I wasn't ready for. He understood that I had baggage, that I was still healing, that my son came first. And he was patient. In January, he invited me to meet his parents. They were visiting from Toronto for the weekend, and he wanted to introduce me. I almost said no. It felt too soon, too serious. But then I thought about the fact that I'd been holding back for months, keeping him at arm's length because I was afraid of getting hurt again. "Okay," I told him. "I'd like that." We met them for brunch at a restaurant in Yaletown. His parents were warm and welcoming, the kind of people who made you feel like you'd known them forever. His mother, Janet, asked about Oliver, about my work, about how I was adjusting to Vancouver. His father, Robert, told jokes and ordered too much food and insisted on paying the bill. Afterward, as Ethan walked me to the bus stop, he took my hand. "That went well," he said. "Your parents are great. They liked you. My mom pulled me aside and said you were a keeper." I laughed. "She doesn't even know me. She knows enough." He stopped walking and turned to face me. "Emma, I know you're not ready to talk about the future yet, and that's fine. But I want you to know, I'm not going anywhere. I'm in this for the long haul if you'll have me." My throat tightened. "Ethan." "You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know." He kissed my forehead and let me go. But the truth was, I wasn't sure I could do it. I wasn't sure I could let someone in again. Not fully. Not after what Daniel had done. Because the thing about betrayal is that it doesn't just break your heart. It breaks your ability to trust. It makes you second-guess everything. Every smile, every compliment, every gesture of affection. And even though Ethan had never given me a reason to doubt him, I still found myself waiting for the moment when he'd reveal his true colors. When he'd ask for money or try to control me or turn out to be someone else entirely. It wasn't fair to him. I knew that. But I didn't know how to stop. One afternoon in February, I was at work when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Hi, Emma. This is Vanessa Liu. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to talk to you. Please." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Vanessa, Daniel's mistress, the woman he'd planned to run away with. I should have deleted the message, blocked the number, moved on, but I didn't. I texted back, "What do you want?" Her response came immediately. "I just found out what he did to you. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Can we meet? Please, I need to explain." I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop near Stanley Park. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, not Sophia, not Ethan. because I didn't want to explain why I was doing this. I wasn't even sure I knew. Vanessa was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with a latte in front of her. She looked different than she did in her Instagram photos. Smaller, paler, less polished. She stood up when she saw me, her hands twisting nervously. "Emma, thank you for coming." I sat down across from her and didn't say anything. She swallowed hard. "I know you hate me. I would too. But I need you to know, I didn't know he was engaged. He told me he was single, that he was taking care of his sick sister and her kid. He said you were his sister." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. His sister. I swear I didn't know. Not until after you left, when the police contacted me. That's when I found out the truth. About you, about Oliver, about everything. And I felt sick. I still feel sick. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to know that I'm not a monster. I would never have. If I'd known he was with someone, if I'd known he had a child. She trailed off, tears streaming down her face. He used me too. He convinced me to put my name on that condo in Miami. Told me it was an investment. Then I found out he'd forged my signature on loan documents. I'm in debt up to my eyeballs because of him. I didn't feel sympathy for her. Not really. But I also didn't feel anger. I just felt tired. "What do you want from me, Vanessa?" "Nothing. I needed you to know that I'm sorry, and that I hope you and your son are okay." I stood up. "We are." And I walked out. That night, I told Ethan everything. We were sitting on my couch, Oliver asleep in his crib, and I finally let the whole story spill out. Daniel, the accident, the betrayal, the escape to Canada, the trial, the plea deal, all of it. He listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "I'm sorry you went through that. I'm not telling you this because I want pity. I'm telling you because you deserve to know who you're getting involved with. I'm a mess, Ethan. I'm broken. I don't know if I can trust anyone ever again, and I don't know if I'll ever be whole." He reached over and took my hand. "You're not broken, Emma. You're healing. And that's not the same thing. What if I can't heal? What if this is just who I am now? Then I'll love you anyway." I looked at him, stunned. "Ethan, I'm not asking you to say it back. I'm just telling you how I feel. And I'm telling you that I'm not going anywhere." I burst into tears, ugly, gasping sobs that I couldn't control. And Ethan just held me, his arms strong and steady, until I had nothing left. Spring came slowly to Vancouver, bringing cherry blossoms and longer days, and a sense of renewal that felt almost tangible. Oliver turned 3 in April, and we threw him a birthday party at a local park. Nothing fancy, just cupcakes and balloons and a few kids from daycare. He ran around in his dinosaur shirt, covered in frosting, laughing so hard he gave himself the hiccups. I watched him and felt something shift in my chest. For so long, I'd been focused on survival, on keeping us safe, on building a new life, on protecting him from the fallout of everything that had happened. But watching him that day, I realized something. He wasn't just surviving. He was thriving. And so was I. In May, I got an email from Detective Brennan. The subject line read, "Update on Hayworth case." I opened it with shaking hands. "Ms. Callahan, I wanted to let you know that Daniel Hayworth's restitution payments have begun. You should receive the first installment within the next 30 days. Additionally, 2 more victims have come forward since his sentencing. We're working with the prosecutor's office to see if additional charges can be filed. I also wanted to thank you. Without your cooperation and testimony, we wouldn't have been able to build this case. You helped us stop a predator. You should be proud. Best, Detective Sarah Brennan." I read the email 3 times, then closed my laptop and sat in silence. Proud. I hadn't felt proud in a long time, but maybe I should. That weekend, Ethan took Oliver and me hiking up Grouse Mountain. It was Oliver's first real hike, and he was so excited he could barely stand still on the gondola ride up. "Mama, look! Trees! Big trees!" "I see them, buddy." At the summit, we walked the trails, stopping to point out birds and squirrels and the stunning view of the city below. Oliver held Ethan's hand, chattering nonstop, and Ethan listened with infinite patience, answering every question, no matter how ridiculous. Why is the sky blue? Because of the way sunlight scatters in the atmosphere. What's atmosphere? It's the air around the Earth. Oh, can we see a bear? Maybe, but we have to be very quiet. I watched them together and felt a lump form in my throat. Ethan wasn't trying to replace Daniel. He wasn't trying to be Oliver's father. He was just there, present, kind, real, and for the first time in over a year, I let myself imagine a future where I wasn't alone. In June, I got a promotion at work. Claire called me into her office and told me I'd be taking over as senior project manager, with a significant raise and a small team reporting to me. "You've earned this," she said. "You're one of the best hires I've ever made." I thanked her, trying not to cry, and went home that night feeling lighter than I had in months. I called Sophia to tell her the news, and she screamed so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. "We're celebrating! Dinner at our place this weekend. Bring Ethan." Sophia. "No arguments. You've worked your ass off and you deserve to be celebrated." The dinner was perfect. Sophia made her famous lasagna. Marcus grilled vegetables, and Ethan brought wine and a bouquet of flowers for the guest of honor. Oliver played with Bailey in the backyard while the adults sat on the patio, talking and laughing as the sun set over the city. At one point, Sophia leaned over and whispered, "He's good for you, you know." "Ethan? Yeah, he makes you smile. I haven't seen you smile like this in... God, I don't even know how long." I looked across the table at Ethan, who was listening to Marcus tell a story about a disastrous camping trip, his eyes crinkling with laughter. "Yeah," I said softly. "He's pretty great. But not everything was easy." In July, Oliver started asking about his father again. He'd been doing it more frequently over the past few months. Simple questions. Like, "Where's Dada?" Or, "Why doesn't Dada live with us?" I'd been deflecting, giving vague answers, hoping he'd forget. But he didn't forget. Kids never do. One night, as I was putting him to bed, he looked up at me with his big brown eyes and asked, "Did Dada stop loving me?" My heart shattered. "No, baby, no. You're Dada. He made some bad choices, grown-up choices that hurt people. And because of that, he can't be with us right now." "Is he coming back?" "I don't know." "Do you miss him?" I thought about it. Did I miss Daniel? No. I missed the version of him I'd thought existed, the kind, charming man who'd held my hand and promised me forever. But that man had never been real. "I miss the idea of him," I said carefully. "But I don't miss the person he actually was. Does that make sense?" Oliver thought about it, then shook his head. "No." I laughed softly. "That's okay. You don't have to understand right now. Just know that you are so, so loved. By me, by Auntie Sophia, by Uncle Marcus, and by Ethan. Does Ethan love you too?" "I think so." "Do you love him?" I hesitated. "I'm getting there." Oliver yawned and snuggled into his pillow. "Okay. Night, Mama. Night, buddy." The question stayed with me, though. Did I love Ethan? I thought I might. But love felt dangerous now, like a loaded gun I wasn't sure I knew how to handle. So I did what I always did when I was scared. I pulled back. I started making excuses not to see Ethan. Work was busy. Oliver was tired. I had errands to run. He didn't push, but I could see the hurt in his eyes. Finally, one evening in late July, he showed up at my apartment unannounced. "We need to talk," he said. I let him in, my stomach twisting. "Emma, what's going on? You've been avoiding me for weeks." "I haven't been avoiding you." "Yes, you have, and I need to know why." "Did I do something wrong?" "No. God, no. You've been perfect." "Then what is it?" I sank onto the couch, my head in my hands. "I'm scared, Ethan. I'm terrified. Because every time I start to feel happy, every time I let my guard down, something terrible happens. And I don't know if I can survive being hurt again." He sat down beside me. "Emma, I can't promise you that nothing bad will ever happen. Life doesn't work that way. But I can promise you that I will never intentionally hurt you. I will never lie to you. I will never betray you. And I will be here for as long as you'll let me." What if that's not enough? What if I'm too damaged to love you the way you deserve? "You're not damaged. You're human. And I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to let me in." I looked at him, at the sincerity in his eyes, and felt something crack open inside me. "I'm trying," I whispered. "I know, and that's enough." We didn't fix everything that night, but we started. I stopped pulling away. I started letting Ethan into my life, really into it. He met my parents over video call. He came to Oliver's daycare events. He stayed over on weekends, making pancakes in the morning and reading bedtime stories at night. And slowly, carefully, I let myself fall in love with him. In August, Ethan asked me to move in with him. We were sitting on his balcony, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance, and he said it so casually I almost didn't register it. "Move in with you?" "Yeah, I mean, you're here half the time anyway, and my place is bigger. Oliver could have his own room. We could get a dog. Whatever you want." "Ethan, that's a huge step." "I know, and if you're not ready, that's okay, but I'm ready. I want to build a life with you, Emma. You and Oliver. I want us to be a family." A family. The word hung in the air, heavy and full of promise. "Can I think about it?" I asked. "Of course. Take all the time you need." I talked to Sophia about it. I talked to my therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Patel, who I'd started seeing in June. I made lists of pros and cons, analyzed every angle, tried to logic my way through a decision that was fundamentally emotional. And then one night, I sat down with Oliver and asked him what he thought. "How would you feel about living with Ethan?" His face lit up. "Really? Can we get a dog?" I laughed. "Maybe?" "Then yes, I want to." "Okay, then we'll do it." We moved in with Ethan in September. The transition was smoother than I'd expected. Oliver adapted immediately, claiming the bigger bedroom and insisting we paint it blue. Ethan helped me pack, carried boxes, assembled furniture, and never once complained. And on our first night in the new place, as I tucked Oliver into his new bed and kissed him goodnight, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the absence of struggle, not the absence of fear, but the quiet, steady certainty that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. That night, Ethan and I sat on the couch in our new living room, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, and he pulled me close. "Happy?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "I really am." "Good. Because I have something for you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. My heart stopped. "Ethan, relax. It's not what you think." He opened the box to reveal a delicate silver necklace with a small compass pendant. "I know you're not ready for a ring, and that's okay. But I wanted to give you this, because no matter where life takes you, I hope you always know your way home." I burst into tears. "I love you." It was the first time I'd said it out loud. He smiled and kissed me. "I love you too." Winter came again, bringing cold rains and early sunsets. but inside our apartment it was warm and bright and full of life. Oliver started preschool. I kept excelling at work. Ethan and I talked about the future, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. And one night, as I lay in bed listening to the sound of rain against the window, I realized something. I'd survived. Not just physically, but emotionally. I'd walked through fire and come out the other side, scarred but whole. And I was proud of that. Proud of the woman I'd become. Proud of the life I'd built. Proud of the choices I'd made, even the hard ones. Because I'd done it. I'd started over. I'd reclaimed my life. And I was just getting started. 2 years later, I stood in the kitchen of our apartment. Our apartment, the one Ethan and I had bought together 6 months ago, watching the morning sun stream through the windows. Oliver was at the table, carefully spreading peanut butter on toast, his tongue poking out in concentration. He was 5 now, tall for his age, with my dark hair and a confidence that sometimes took my breath away. "Mama, I did it myself," he announced, holding up his breakfast like a trophy. "Good job, buddy. Now eat it before it gets cold." Ethan appeared in the doorway, his hair still damp from the shower, his tie hanging loose around his neck. He kissed the top of Oliver's head, then crossed the room to kiss me. "Morning." Morning. It was ordinary, mundane, perfect. Life had settled into a rhythm I'd never thought possible. My career had taken off. I was now a director at the firm, leading a team of 12 and working on projects across North America. Ethan had been promoted too, and we'd started talking seriously about the future, marriage, maybe another child, a house with a yard. Oliver thrived. He loved school, had a best friend named Liam, played soccer on weekends. He rarely asked about Daniel anymore, and when he did, I answered honestly but simply, "Your biological father made choices that hurt people, so he can't be part of our lives. But Ethan loves you very much, and so do I." It was enough for him, for now. The restitution money from Daniel had arrived in installments over the past 2 years. I'd put most of it into a college fund for Oliver, with a portion set aside for emergencies. It felt like blood money at first, tainted by everything he'd done. But my therapist helped me reframe it. He owed you that. He stole from you. Time, trust, safety. This is just a fraction of what he took. Take it and use it to build something good. So I did. In March, I got an unexpected email from Detective Brennan. "Ms. Callahan, I wanted to update you on Daniel Hayworth's status. He's currently serving his sentence at a federal facility in California. He's been a model prisoner, apparently, and may be eligible for early parole in 2 years. I also wanted to let you know that he's requested to contact you. He's asked permission to write you a letter. You are under no obligation to accept it, and I've told him as much. But I wanted to give you the option to decide for yourself. Let me know what you'd like me to do. Best. Sarah." I stared at the email for a long time. Part of me was curious. What could he possibly have to say after all this time? Was it an apology? An excuse? Another manipulation? But the larger part of me, the part that had clawed her way out of the wreckage and built something beautiful, didn't care. I didn't need his apology. I didn't need his explanation. I didn't need anything from him at all. I replied to Detective Brennan, "Please tell him I decline. I have no interest in hearing from him, now or ever." And then I closed my laptop and went to play with my son. That spring, Ethan proposed. We were hiking the same trail on Grouse Mountain where we'd gone 3 years earlier, and Oliver was running ahead of us, chasing a squirrel. Ethan stopped at a lookout point. The city spread out below us like a promise, and got down on one knee. "Emma Callahan, you are the strongest, bravest, most incredible woman I've ever met. You've taught me what it means to rebuild, to hope, to love without fear. And I want to spend the rest of my life proving to you that you made the right choice in letting me in. Will you marry me?" I didn't hesitate. Yes. Oliver came running back just in time to see Ethan slip the ring onto my finger. His eyes went wide. Does this mean Ethan's going to be my real dad? Ethan looked at me, waiting for my answer. I knelt down and took Oliver's hands. He's already your real dad, buddy, in every way that matters. Oliver threw his arms around Ethan's neck. Yes! We stood there, the three of us, wrapped in each other's arms, and I felt something I'd been chasing for years finally settle into place. Wholeness. We got married that summer in a small ceremony at Stanley Park, surrounded by the people who mattered most. Sophia was my maid of honor, crying through the entire ceremony. Marcus walked me down the aisle. Oliver was the ring bearer, taking his job so seriously he forgot to smile. My parents flew in from the States. They'd been cautious about Ethan at first, worried I was rushing into something, but they'd come around. My mother hugged me before the ceremony and whispered, "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Look at what you've built." I looked around at the faces gathered there. Friends, family, colleagues, people who'd supported me through the darkest period of my life, and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. I couldn't have done it without all of you, I said in my vows, my voice breaking. You held me up when I couldn't stand. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, and you showed me that family isn't just about blood. It's about showing up over and over again, even when things are hard, especially when things are hard. I turned to Ethan. And you saw me at my worst and loved me anyway. You didn't try to fix me or save me. You just stood beside me and let me find my own way. Thank you for that. Thank you for choosing us. I promise to choose you every single day for the rest of our lives. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. 6 months after the wedding, I got one more email from Detective Brennan. Ms. Callahan. Daniel Hayworth was denied parole. The board cited his lack of genuine remorse and ongoing risk to potential victims. He'll serve the remainder of his sentence and won't be eligible for parole again for at least 3 years. I thought you'd want to know. Sarah. I read the email twice, then deleted it. It didn't matter anymore. Daniel was part of a past I'd left behind, not forgotten, but no longer powerful. That night, I sat on the back porch of our house. We'd finally bought one, a 3-bedroom craftsman in East Vancouver with a yard for Oliver and a garden I was learning to tend, and watched the stars come out. Ethan joined me, handing me a cup of tea. You okay? Yeah, just thinking. About how far we've come, how different life is now. He sat down beside me and took my hand. Regrets? Not a single one. The truth was, I'd learned something crucial over the past few years. You don't have to be perfect to be whole. You don't have to have all the answers to move forward. You don't have to forget the past to build a future. You just have to keep showing up. Keep choosing yourself. Keep believing that you deserve better, and then doing the hard work to create it. I'd done that. I was still doing it, and I would keep doing it. For the rest of my life. Oliver ran out onto the porch, his pajamas already on, his hair sticking up in every direction. Mama! Ethan! Come see! I built a castle with my Legos. We followed him inside, and he showed us his creation, a lopsided tower with a flag made from a piece of paper. It's for protecting people, he explained solemnly, so the bad guys can't get in. Ethan ruffled his hair. That's a pretty great castle, buddy. I know. Oliver beamed. Later, after we'd tucked him in and turned out the lights, I stood in the doorway of his room, watching him sleep. His little chest rising and falling, his face peaceful and untroubled. He would grow up safe, loved, protected. He would never have to wonder if he was enough, because I would tell him every single day that he was more than enough. He was everything. And maybe, just maybe, he'd grow up knowing that it's okay to fall apart sometimes, that it's okay to ask for help. That starting over isn't failure, it's courage. I hoped he'd never need to learn those lessons the way I had, but if he did, I'd be there to show him the way. I walked back to the bedroom, where Ethan was already under the covers reading. "You coming to bed?" "Yeah." I climbed in beside him and he put his book down, pulling me close. "I love you," he said. "I love you too." We lay there in the quiet, and I thought about the woman I'd been 3 years ago, broken, terrified, running for her life with a toddler in her arms and nothing but hope keeping her upright. That woman had been brave. She'd been a warrior, but she'd also been alone. Now, I wasn't alone anymore. I had a partner, a family, a home. I had everything I'd thought I'd lost forever, and I'd built it myself, piece by piece, day by day, with my own 2 hands. The next morning, I woke before sunrise and went for a run, something I'd started doing a year ago, a way to clear my head and start the day with intention. The streets were quiet, the air cool and clean, and as I ran through my neighborhood, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. I thought about all the versions of myself I'd been, the hopeful young woman who'd fallen in love with the wrong man, the terrified mother waking up in a hospital bed, the survivor who'd fled across international borders, the fighter who'd rebuilt her life from nothing. All of those women lived inside me still, and I was proud of every single one of them, because they'd brought me here, to this moment, to this life. And it was a good life, a beautiful life, a life worth fighting for. When I got home, the house was starting to wake up. I could hear Oliver singing in his room, hear Ethan moving around in the kitchen. I stood in the doorway and took it all in, the chaos, the noise, the love. This was my family, my home, my future, and I was ready for it. Thank you for reading Emma's story. If you've ever felt broken or lost or like you'd never find your way back, I hope this reminds you that healing is possible, that you are stronger than you know, that starting over isn't giving up, it's choosing yourself. What would you do if you woke up and heard the person you trusted most planning your erasure? How would you find the strength to walk away? Share your thoughts below. Your story matters,